Lean in close and let me tell you about initiative. Get into initiative and do it quickly. This video is about the value of using initiative timing even if combat does not happen, even if combat wasn't supposed to happen. Using initiative for social encounters, using it during roleplay moments, using it to control pace. Aside from ensuring your table is having fun, pacing your game well is the most important thing a dungeon master can do. Looking at the definition of pacing, you'll find words like steady, consistent. Let's look at combat, which is very back and forth and the easy thing to think through when talking about initiative. In combat, the PCs go, you go. Fighters drop to 0, fighters are healed. One monster falls, another takes its place. A PC dies. The group is sad. It's a slow moment. The world zooms in to that exact moment. The moment when the giant crushed the dwarven cleric, cratering both the dwarf and the area around her. It all feels like a haze, a blur. Music settles, and the drums of war go silent. Classical piano plays on a loop in your mind. In contrast, excitement is high. Knuckles whiten, fists form, banging on the table. Cheers and the grabbing of beverages begin the celebration. With a handful of pretzels chucked into the mouth, the salty goodness adds a smooth transition into a hurrah or huzzah! The PCs are victorious and the demon spawn lays before your feet, melting slowly into smoke and ash. Pacing keeps things consistent through all of this. It offers a foundation upon which you can have the slow and sad moments while allowing for the thrill of victory. Start with initiative. Ask all players to roll initiative. It lets everyone know that 1, they'll have a chance to do their thing, and 2, it lets them know when they'll get to do it. Whether using initiative as written or coming up with your own initiative system, use something and track it. It provides the foundation, a series of steps you can rely on. Without it, there's too much table talk, too much confusion as players simultaneously want to tell you what they're thinking and what it is they want to do, for fear that if they don't rush it and tell you quickly, their ideas will get overlooked. Initiative controls this. Ask for initiative. Track when everyone gets to do something, including you. Here's the sweet spot. Track initiative even if you aren't planning to fight. Let the players know that you, as the DM, will have your own turn. Let the players build confidence that even you, the storyteller, will take a back seat when it's their turn. After you've noted everything, simply say, okay, from this point forward, whatever you want to say or do, wait until your turn. Players can settle into this and agree to it because they saw you write those numbers down. Perhaps you have a visual aid where everyone can see the initiative tracker and they know when they're up. This gives the players confidence. Confidence that however cool their thing is, it'll have its moment to shine. It might be at the bottom of the order and the last thing to happen, but this round, using initiative timing, it will happen. So start with initiative. Set the pace immediately by calling for initiative. It removes table talk. It stops tactical stuff. It stops indecision. Initiative puts the responsibility on those whose turn it is. It starts a clock. Just as a well-scheduled day can help with steady action and consistency, initiative timing and clocks do the same. Notice how that's all about pacing. Act, or you get skipped. Pacing controls the action, but to do so, the table needs to know when there's an action point versus a moment to just sit back and listen. Thus, the ebb and flow of the game starts to settle in. There's many ways to control pacing, and each table and group has to settle into what works best. An unruly player throws a wrench into your pacing. an extremely talkative player. A table hog, that one person that plays a co-op game and tells everyone else in the group how to best take their turn. Perhaps it's not even the players that are off pace. An unprepared DM can ruin the flow of things. Regardless, initiative timing is the best way to find your pace. It sets the order of actions. When it isn't your turn, you should be quiet. Pay attention. Contemplate your own actions, given the situation that's unfolding in front of you. When it's your turn, spring into action. Make your choices, see it through, rinse and repeat. Turn after turn, round after round. The ebb and flow of gameplay settles into place. Initiative, also known as the order of actions, creates a steady rhythm and consistency. For a few final points, let's get into using initiative in combat, which is what we all think of when the DM says roll initiative. Here's the honey to your biscuit. That extra bit of peanut butter in your PB&J. Whatever that all means. Roll initiative when combat is on the horizon, not when it's in front of the group. If you can wrap your head around these final thoughts, you'll embrace the value of using initiative timing throughout all aspects of your game, even the non-combat stuff. Notice the difference, illustrated best by examples 1 and 2. The first example is narrating things. No initiative roll needed. The second example is in initiative timing, highlighting the point of this video. Too often we, as DMs, think of initiative as the start of combat, the first thing you do to begin a fight. I think of it as a means to control pace. Here's the setup for our examples. Something in the darkness startles the pair of PCs that are guarding the group's camp. Wood creaks, then snaps. Do those guardian PCs wake the wizard, knowing they won't get their long rest? Do you ask for perception checks to see if anyone else heard it, waking in a daze, grasping for a sword they hope is still beside them? Example 1, not rolling initiative. As the DM, you aren't committed to combat. You don't know if there's going to be a fight, as you either aren't prepared for one or you simply aren't sure how the PCs are going to respond to what's going on. Maybe the guards wake up the group and they hustle and leave the camp. Regardless, no initiative is rolled. Yet. A sound comes from the darkness. You inform the pair of PCs on guard duty. You provide a bit more description, indicating whether it's a giant stepping on things or a small twig breaking under a goblin's misplaced steps and failed stealth check. Perhaps it's nothing. An ambient thing to keep the group on edge, reminding them that it's always a good idea to have a watch out here in the wildlands. The PCs ask questions. You tell them to roll perception, perhaps investigation, to learn more. From there, the guards can decide what to do next. Do they wake the wizard, ruining their long rest? Is this sound really a threat? So on and so forth. It can all be disturbing and tense, especially if you describe it well, but the stakes are low. The consequences of action are lessened greatly because the PCs aren't taking any actions. They're just asking questions and you're responding. It's comfortable. Initiative hasn't been rolled yet because the player's handbook has trained us to think, if combat hasn't started, why roll initiative? After initiative, what would be next? Pulling out terrain, setting up miniatures, setting up the battle. If you, as the DM, don't have these things lying around, we don't often wrap our head around rolling initiative at all. Let's look to example 2. Rolling initiative the moment the PC guards hear the sounds. This one is simple, and notice how much more tension there is. Notice how well you can control the pacing, the highs and lows, because actions are now controlled. Everyone gets a chance, but now, what you do with that chance matters. Roll initiative. Okay, guards, you hear this crunching sound. It's not quite the rumbling of a giant stepping on an entire tree, But it's also not a subtle thing. It's not just a twig breaking under a tiny or small creature. It might be more. It's close, and it's not comfortable. Okay, Ragnar, you're asleep, but you rolled best on initiative. Your passive perception doesn't hear anything, so your turn is done. Same for you, Ajalia, as well as you, Caius. Each of you are asleep, which is good because remember, all of you spent your spells last combat, and you need the long rest. As it stands, you haven't heard the stuff your guards are hearing, but your long rest is also not being disturbed. That's your guys' round, as passive perception didn't notice anything. So, for each of you, as you were. Okay, Thragmar, you're one of the guards, walking the perimeter of the camp. The other guard, you, Jassa, are sitting, tending to the fire. Jassa, you hear what I just described as well. But anyway, let's look at Thragmar. Thragmar, what do you want to do? Do you want to use your action to make a perception check or investigation check in order to get some more details? To see if all of this noise is even worth disturbing your companion's long rest? Or do you want to just act? Do you want to run into the darkness? It's on you. You're up. Your initiative is up. Quick, what do you want to do? As the DM, you don't have terrain or monster minis sitting around, yet the intensity is high. Decisions matter. You never have to let the players know that you did or didn't plan a fight. Now, you certainly don't have to use this initiative out of combat concept for everything in your game, but I hope you see the beauty in it. Have fun first. Second is pacing. Control action. Control the pace. Elevate your game and the decisions of your players. Share space and time. Give every player a moment to be the best, to be the anchor of the party. Give yourself, as DM, a smooth mechanism to control the highs, the lows, the good, and the bad. Initiative timing, clocks, and rounds do this. Use it, and you'll see a shift in your game. I guarantee it. By the way, it's your turn. What do you do?